Hi, everybody. Megan Thompson here with Megan Thompson Coaching, and I wanted to talk about the false safety of anger. And so, before we get started on this topic, I really want to help you understand where I hear parents coming from and talking about related to anger and your highly sensitive child on a regular basis. Oftentimes, I'll hear from parents, whether that be in the Facebook group or on the calls that I take or in my private practice, talk a lot about their child's expression of anger and their highly sensitive kid and how they're struggling in managing that anger and expressing that anger safely. And so this might mean that your child is having meltdowns or frustrated, getting very angry very quickly. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like for your child. So before we get into how to address it. And so when we think about anger is very powerful. Your child feels capable in those moments when they are frustrated and angry, even if you're not noticing that. And your child in that moment feels actually safe and unsafe at the same time. When we feel angry, we get an ineffective sense of safety from that experience. We feel like we are able to solve our own problems through forcing our agenda on other people. And when that happens, what we're doing is getting stuck in our emotional experience. Now, for your highly sensitive kid, when they're experiencing that emotion can happen at any and all times, and oftentimes frequently throughout the day. So if your kiddo is angry, and they're having meltdowns as a result, they are stuck in that emotion. But that emotion perpetuates. And when we think about that struggle that your highly sensitive kid is experiencing, that emotion perpetuates and it creates a cycle. And so the first thing that we need to know about anger and why it's false in its sense of safety is that anger is cyclical. And so for you as a parent, if you're stuck identifying that your child is expressing anger with outbursts or irritability or constant irritation or constant criticism of whatever you're trying to do to help them, then you are noticing that your child is experiencing that intense emotion. And when that intense emotion is happening, your child is feeling very powerful. On the flip side, they feel out of control of their behavior that's happening when they are angry. And so this is very confusing for your highly sensitive kid, especially because they notice the emotions of others. Now, they might not be able to articulate that or admit to that, but because your kid's highly sensitive, we know they tap into empathy in some way, shape, or form in their day-to-day life. And so what's important to be aware of here is that if your child is stuck in a cycle of anger, then the frustration that you're also observing in your own ability or attempt to stop this cycle of anger is very clearly focusing on the symptom of what is the real true problem. So let's talk a lot about what this anger is and why anger is so powerful for your highly sensitive kid and what you need to do to get out of it. Now, this is very true for lots of families because parents can get stuck in the trap of anger as well, in the anger cycle as well. Even if you're not yelling at your kid, and we all know that it's hard to not yell at your kid 100% of the time, all of the time. But even if you're not yelling at your kid, it is easy to experience the emotion of anger because it's powerful. Anger is very quick for us to experience. It is a very rapid chemical response in the brain, and society perpetuates the experience of anger quite frequently, and it's actually quite accepted, especially males in our society, to feel anger, and even if you're a female or identify as female, it is still at times socially acceptable for you to express frustration and acknowledge and sit and stay in that frustration. And we hear lots of professionals or parents of their own accord venting and focusing on how effective or how necessary it is to vent about where you're struggling in this moment with your kids. And that lesson or that perception of what makes anger or what people perceive anger to be helpful is what creates the cycle of anger. Anger is a symptom of shame. And actually, anger is a safety cage for shame. So what I want to help you guys see and understand here is that when your child is experiencing anger, they're experiencing some other deeper emotion, and then on top of that, they're experiencing shame. Experiencing shame that they can't have things that they want in that moment, shame that they're not good enough to get what they want, shame that they can't achieve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, shame that their emotions are affecting other people, because again, your kid's highly sensitive, they're expressing or identifying at least empathy. And so if you're not clearly addressing the shame and just focusing on the expression of the meltdown, the anger, the hitting, the kicking, the throwing, the yelling, the irritability, the constant rapid fire criticism of you as a parent, then you're not identifying the true cause and you're not addressing the true cause of your child's cyclical anger. And when that happens, you're also probably not identifying your own true cause or your own true source of your anger with your child. And when that's occurring for you, it's very common that you will stay in that cycle, that will just continue to perpetuate throughout your child's childhood, because anger in how powerful it can be can lead to a calming, even a honeymoon effect. And we see this in extreme cases, for anyone who's working in the mental health field or in the human science field, in victims of domestic violence, that there's always a honeymoon phase when someone repairs the situation, they say they're sorry. But when we're thinking about the cycle that you experience as a parent of a highly sensitive child, it can also feel like quite a honeymoon when your child comes down from their intense emotion, because it's over. There's a release. There's some relief from that anger at that point for your child. And when that happens, it can feel exhausting for you as a parent, but also for your child, and they might need comfort, snuggles, cuddles. They might need the ability to feel loved and reassurance in that moment. And what's driving that need is a sense of shame. And so when you help your child by showing love, because we want you to be loving to your child, and that's a key, the only way to help your child develop thoroughly is to demonstrate and consistently show love. But when the love is demonstrated and when you're expressing love and affection and support after an outburst of anger, and you're not clearly identifying and attacking, and what I mean by attacking is not like talking to your kid in a way that's saying they're wrong in that moment. What I mean by that word is really pointedly and strategically breaking down the roots of shame that your highly sensitive child feels, then you're going to stay on this hamster wheel. And what we know with anyone, when we see, we look from outside, the outside view of anyone, think of a family member or a coworker or a neighbor who's stuck in a pattern of behavior. They keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Einstein said that's the definition of insanity. But what we view is the person being on a hamster wheel. And so you feel like you're going somewhere because you're running hard. But when you take a bigger step back, what you notice and what you can observe in yourself when you look at the broad picture, and what my job here for you and what I see as my purpose in life, helping this community and helping parents that I work with directly, is noticing that if you're focusing on the anger and that safety cage of the shame, rather than really addressing the fact that your child feels ashamed for the majority of their experiences, if they don't know how to manage their emotions safely, then you're not getting out ahead of it. And when that's happening, it's likely to continue to foster shame in yourself. So we hear lots of parents say, I feel like a bad parent, or please don't judge me, I yelled at my kid, or I'm trying really hard, but I can't seem to get out ahead of this. And underneath that, I hear shame. I did it wrong again. I didn't get it right again. There's something missing here that I can't quite figure out. And if you as a parent are experiencing that emotion, then you have to be certain that your highly sensitive kid is feeling that, because they are stuck in the same cycle that you are. When you are the parent, it is your job to be the emotional leader in the household, to be the emotional safety net in the household, to be the love-focused, joy-focused, emotionally wise person in the household. And when you're not able to take that bigger picture look at what's drawing the cycle, what's drawing the you guys back into this vortex at times, then it's very, very difficult to get out of that on your own. And so when we think about addressing that, it's clear that you have to be certain that shame perpetuates ineffective behavior, because this is happening on a subconscious level. So when your child melts down and notices their inability to manage their emotions because they're reflecting on it after the fact, or they experience consequences after the fact, or they hear from you that they need to try better and that it's okay, but they still need to try better to do better next time, or that they see from a teacher chastise somebody else who just did the same thing, they take that on as something's wrong with me. And so this is why we hear so many highly sensitive kids say, you hate me. You don't like me, I don't like you, I hate you, or I'm not loved, I wish I wasn't alive anymore. Those words are based in shame. And if you don't tap into breaking that down specifically, then you won't be able to help your child feel better about themselves. So when we think about building self-compassion, self-esteem, you have to focus on addressing the shame. And the way to do that is to very clearly identify that anger is not your main focus. Focusing on your child's expression of anger and the fact that anger is expressed during a meltdown is missing the cause of the frustration. So when you focus on the shame, what you're able to do is help your child break down that barrier between here's where I want to be as a happy, healthy, emotionally secure child, and here's where I am. And your child is not going to be able to rise to the occasion if you are not able to step over your sense of shame, of feeling like you haven't figured this out yet, and take action in addressing that. So again, there's many different ways for you to do that. I encourage you to watch my masterclass as well as get on the phone with me if you're ready and committed to solve this problem 100%. But I really want you guys to understand that the shame cycle is perpetuated by perceiving anger as the true issue you need to break down. Anger is a symptom. Anger is an aftermath effect of unattended shame. And highly sensitive people have a higher propensity to shame, most specifically highly sensitive adults. And it's very clear that that's because a lot of highly sensitive adults aren't validated in an effective way that breaks down shame in childhood. So this is all I have for you today. I have a call in a couple of minutes, so I have to pop off. And be sure to post what you learned and your observations in this video, as well as go ahead and set up a time to watch that masterclass, capture how we break down shame, identify that clearly in the 5 steps of that webinar for you, as well as understand that the clear way to do that is to speak with me about what your next steps are, and we do that through a phone call. Because I don't know that I can help you until we speak. So thank you, and have a great day.